Hey guys, thanks for joining me, and if you like what you see, please subscribe.
Hello peoples, welcome to Sharp Ends. I'm going to do a disassembly and maintenance video of this ultralight or FRN version of the Paramilitary 3. A lot of what I'm going to show you about this is obviously the same as the Paramilitary 2, just slightly smaller. They're put together exactly the same way. This has a wire clip, plastic scales, and liners inside for the lock side, which I'll show you. This is the compression lock on the back, which is a very innovative and very cool lock. You basically, unlike having a liner lock in the down here at the bottom, it has a lock at the back, but it kind of works as a liner lock, but they're very, very strong and stable to use. This is going to use, looks like a T8 in the pivot, and then it has how many spacers in the back? We've got this back lock here, and then we've got two barrels, and this is clear, and this is just for the lanyard hole. And then it does not, oh, it looks like maybe the clip is also holding it on, the wire clip, so that might have to come off too. So this is a free spinning, this is this pivot has a screw on each side. So we're just going to go ahead and take it off of the show scale side, and hopefully that'll be enough. And if it's not enough, then we'll go from there. I've worked on a lot of Spydercos before. I think I've even worked on this one before, but I can't quite remember. This was my friend's. He's one of my oldest and best friends, and I gave him this knife for Christmas 2 years ago. He is a clean freak, and he likes to keep things pristine. So he actually didn't use this knife or carry it for the first several months until I said to him, "Why aren't you carrying this knife? That is stupid." He's like, "Well, it's so nice." I was like, "It's not so nice. This is just a FRN Spyderco. It's okay if you go ahead and, well, this is the wrong bit. Where is the bit that I need? It's okay if you go ahead and, use the stuff that you have." So that convinced him, and then he started carrying it every day, and he has really liked carrying this knife. He really likes the back of it. He really likes how he can flick it out easily. He was telling me how friends of his think that he's carrying an automatic because he can Spidey flick it open so much. They're like, "Oh my God, is that an automatic? Isn't that illegal?" He's like, "No, that's not an automatic. That's just a Spyderco knife." I guess I should have checked beforehand what the centering on this is, although it looks like currently it's still really dead on. But when we get done, sometimes with liner locks and compression locks, they are not always spotless as far as centering can be a little tricky. So I've taken out all the screws, and I've taken out that guy. And then what I'm going to do is, this is where the wire clip was. And in order to change the wire clip, you just take that, pop that out, and switch to the other side. I believe now I'll be able to just pop the pivot out. I'm going to use my lock bar tool from my watch kit. I find this very useful. Hopefully it'll just come out. If it doesn't, that means that the central pivot part, yeah, so I need to unscrew this too. The center, what the knife actually spins on is locked in, and then it has two screws, one from each side. I've put my pivot screw here, and then I've worked backwards with my screws so I don't get them out of order. As I'm pushing the compression lock, I'm working the knife apart. These has phosphor bronze washers, which are perfectly good. I actually like them a lot, but they do get dirty after a time. So, like I said, this guy's a neat freak, clean freak. This looks pretty immaculate for 2 years worth of use. And, I haven't oiled it since, and I haven't sharpened it. So I took it because I said, it's not perfectly sharp right now. It's still very sharp. But I was like, let me take it. Let me sharpen it up. And I thought, well, since I have it, I'd go ahead and make a video about cleaning it So here you'll see some schmutz here. I've just taken a Q-tip, some alcohol, and then these detent holes for the detent ball, cleaning those out real well. I used to put heavy lubricant on the faces of the mechanism, which close, or which are the compression lock. I don't usually do that anymore, and I haven't decided if I'm going to do it this time. I think in general it's better with locks to not grease them up at all. So this is, on this side you've got a phosphor bronze washer, and I'm going to clean that up. And I'm going to remember which side the washer is sitting on this scale. When we're looking inside this knife, you'll see that they're trying to save as much weight as possible. One of the things, and that also makes this knife a cheaper, affordable, more affordable version of a Paramilitary 3. This happens to be a BD1N, which is a machine tool. I think it's made by Carpenter. Yeah, it's CTS Carpenter. But you'll notice that on the other side here, there's no metal insert at all. And in fact, there's not even a washer over here. It's just plastic. So it runs on plastic on one side, and it runs on the bronze washer on the other side, which is interesting. I'm going to put a little oil there. I'm going to put this back down where it came from. And so what will I do? So I think just for shits and giggles, I'll show you. So this was the light KPL. It's the silver bottle. Where is the heavy? I know I had it. Oh, here's the heavy. So I'm just going to go ahead. If you are going to use anything on this, what I would say is put one single drop on the detent ball. That detent ball right there rides inside the track there. And if anything's going to stick, it's going to be that. So I put one single drop of heavy oil on that. am not going to, am I going to put any oil? So this is strange in that this, you know, just riding on plastic on that side. So I don't even know if I should really put any oil there, but I guess I will. Why not? I'll put one single drop of hops number 9. That way I will have used 3 different lubricants. I think hops might work better on plastic. And this time I'm going to put it where I see a little bit of a ring on here. And then I'm going to take, again, some number 9, or sorry, some KPL light. And I'm going to put that inside where the blade rides on the pivot. Close this all back up. Main thing about, so the grease does make the knife work smoother. The other thing that it does is it traps free radicals, or otherwise known as dirt. And it takes that dirt and it makes sure that it's not going to spin around inside against the washers or the the bearings and create more havoc, and over time, you know, degrade it. There we go. So now I've just snapped this shut. I put it back down on here, and we're pretty close now to putting this back together. I'm going to take some medium Loctite. There's going to be links down below. All those links support the channel if you click on them and eventually buy it from that link. So I'll just warn you of that. Absolutely not obligated, but I just want to, you know, full disclosure, tell you that. So what I'm doing is I'm using my lock bar tool again to put just a little bit of Loctite inside the threads of the holes, right? So I'm just taking a little bit on here, and then I'm just putting it in there. I like doing that rather than putting it on the threads of the screws before I put them in. So the other option is to take them now and then dip them in the end and then put them in. I like the other way. I think both ways are valid. A lot of people do them both one way or the other. One thing I want to do is make sure I'm not tightening down this pivot too much, because it has 2 screws, one coming from either direction. That's going to affect the centering, and then the blade is going to, perhaps because of the sideways pressure of the compression lock, might push the blade over toward one side or the other. And so what I want to do is make sure that I want to make sure that I have a little bit of play with the tightening up on the pivot, and then I'll show you if it's out of alignment. I'll show you how to bring it into alignment. So now I know which screw goes in which hole. Something that has different hardware and different types of hardware along the back of the scale. This, now that I've kept everything in the same order, I know exactly where it needs to go back. That's why I do it that way. And then the tricky part, I remember this being tricky, is getting this wire clip back in here with the screw positioned correctly in here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the screw head is going to hold the wire there, and then I'm going to lay this down on top, and I'm going to put this on the surface. I'm going to hold this sideways, and then I'm going to take my magnetic screw head tip. I'm holding that in there. I'm going to use because it's wire, it's spreading apart. All right, so let's get that in there without forcing it. There we go. And now I'm going to put it in the hole, and then I need to put it down in the little slots that the wire clip goes in, and there we go. So we have tip up carry right hand. That's what he is. And then so now this is good. See the action. Do we have any play? Just a little bit of play maybe. Let's look at the centering. And here on the centering, you can see that indeed the compression lock is not tight enough. So do you see how it's not quite centered right now? I'm going to go ahead and tighten up this screw here first on this side and see if that helps. No, it did not. And then when I tighten up the other side, it actually makes it worse. So if I loosen this one and then tighten this one, will that help? Not quite. So look, we still have a problem. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a scrap piece of paper. We're going to fold it up a bunch of times. And then I'm going to take this and I'm going to loosen up the pivot. I'm not going to take the screws out, but I am going to loosen it up goodly amount. And now you'll see that the problem is even worse. And now I'm going to force this blade over to the show side of the scale with this piece of paper by wedging it in next to here. And that's going to hold it over really far to the other side, right? Too far over to the side. That's okay, because when I tighten it up and then I eventually pull it out, the idea is that it will drift towards center. So now this one was the one that was pushing in the wrong direction. So I'm just going to tighten it to just till it stops. And this one I'm going to tighten up hard. And hopefully that'll counteract the effect. And so now that this is together, let's pull this out and see if that fixed the centering. Yeah, so now you can see the centering is almost perfect. It's just slightly still to the other side, but I'm going to call that good. If I really wanted to get technical, what I would do is I would go ahead and put that piece of paper in again, and I would take out the screws on the back side of the thing, and then I would tighten everything down very slowly together, and that would make it just a little bit more perfect. But we're talking about a 32nd of an inch, and I don't care about that. This is a work knife. All right, so this is now just a little bit too tight, so I'm going to loosen this side. Still just a fraction too tight. Going to loosen that side. So Loctite now needs 24 hours to loosen or to set. So once I get this good, the action good on this, I will let it sit for 24 hours. And what I'm looking for right now is this should be drop shutting, and it's not. So I'm continuing to loosen this. The Loctite is going to, there we go. The other thing that's going to happen is that the oil is going to work around inside of there and make this run smoother. You do want it a little tight, a little on the tight side when you put it together, because it will continue to wear in or, you know, become looser as the time goes by, especially when you're fixing up a knife for a friend. You want to make sure it's just a little bit tight and then tell them, yeah, I know it's a little tight right now, but it's going to loosen up over time. So this is just a little bit tight. I'm going to check the tightness of these screws to make sure nothing is too loose. The Loctite will help with, this is just the perfect amount of tension. No blade play, just a little bit tight back there. And we do indeed have it just a little off center. These FRN ones are very hard to get perfectly centered anyway. But like I said, if you follow those instructions I just gave you, you can make it much closer. And good enough, close enough is good enough in my estimation. You can make it better, but that's going to be fine for me. Thanks so much for joining me today. I really appreciate it. If you like this video, please like and subscribe. You can also follow me on Instagram. And if you want to support the channel, you can use the links down below to buy some stuff. Or you can become a channel member or follow me on Patreon. Thanks so much, everyone. I really appreciate you. And I hope that you have a great rest of your week. Bye-bye.